There we go. Look that way.
Cool. Welcome back to Bloom. Hashtag Bloom UK to mention us in social media and in the chat. And it's great for you to join us. We'd like to thank again our wonderful sponsors, Liquor 43, Da Vinci Gourmet, and Barista. Liquor 43 being a premium liqueur that is made in Spain and is used in World Coffee and Good Spirits Championships, which the UK have got 2 times winner, so we like that. So we're going to get going on, and also thank you as well to Grumpy Mule for the first coffee break and Union Hand Roasted for the second coffee break. So all those people who sent us a message saying that they'd received, unfortunately UK people only, just because there's some limitations, but some really lovely comments about the coffee, and coffee from our sponsors is always most welcome. So welcome to the panel on how to make a good career in coffee, not just a career, but a good one. So we're going to get the panel to introduce themselves. A couple of people you've already met, but they can, give their own introduction this time. But let's start with Lynsey. Hi, Lynsey.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Lynsey. I have been in the coffee sector since uni. I started as a barista. When I finished uni, I moved to London, not to work in coffee, but to work in finance, and that didn't go so well. I didn't like it. And then I worked back as being a barista, and then I just worked my way up. Now I have my own business. That's been going now for 5 years, so far so good.
Super. And Aashifa?
What's up, everyone? My name is Aashifa. I am a barista trainer for Well Grounded. I actually started out as a trainee in Well Grounded in 2016 and have worked my way up from barista to barista trainer. And I've been in the industry for about 4 years now.
Superb. And Mr. North?
20 years, maybe.
Well, Matt.
I think so. I think it's like 19 or 20 years. I started off as a barista at Cafe Nero, and in a long sojourn through the industry, I ended up opening up my own cafe, Full Court Press, which I now co-own after selling half of my baristas, and moved into the green side of the industry for QC and logistics for raw material coffee CIC.
And Emma?
Hello again, Emma. I am an AST, teach green sensory barista skills brewing, and work as a consultant to different parts of the coffee business and sector, multiple different clients doing many different things. I've been in hospitality about 16 years now. It's a long time. Not quite as long as you, Matt, but I'm creeping up. Getting there.
Cool. And I'm Rob, current national coordinator for SCA UK. I'll be mediating this panel, trying to control them, which is even more challenging online. And I've been in and around coffee for about 20 years as well, in various roles, starting actually as a barista for Pret a Manger. So working through commercial and speciality, and so holding quite a few different roles. Remember, we have the Q&A section, which if you open up the chat on your screen somewhere, probably there or something, or maybe the other way, then you can drop in questions in the Q&A section and direct in the panel. We're going to get started with a few bits and pieces, but we want this to be as interactive as possible. And this is your opportunity to people who have well, whether we've made feel that we've made a good career in coffee or not so far. We'll find out. So we'll if you want to answer the question, jump in, dive in terms of our panel. But what do you think is the best place to start? What kind of roles and how can you get your kind of foot in the door?
To anyone in particular? Or?
Yeah, we'll go to Matt to start with.
All right. I think as is evidence from how long we've been around, we both started in the same position. It used to be you had to start as a barista. That was the only way in. I think maybe these days you really can start at any level. So you can start as in sales, you can start as a roaster or as a bag packer, which is a traditional way to get in a roastery. So there probably isn't a best way to start. More to say that there are more options than ever before to enter the industry.
Yeah.
Go
on.
Sorry. I was just going to say, off the back of that, I wanted to echo Matt's thoughts. I think that it's really suited to what your interests are and what your goals are and what you think suits you as a person and what your strengths are. And speaking to that, the idea that there is a breadth of options out there for what you can do and what you want to achieve in coffee. I will say, though, I think starting out as a barista, you learn so much. You learn people skills, you learn interpersonal skills, you learn like the understandings of a cafe environment. And we all started with that, I think, as baristas and can speak to that. But just echoing also Matt's thoughts about the level of option that's out there and how that can suit your skills and strengths.
I would agree with Aashifa. Being a barista is the easiest way to start because there's so many options. There's so many jobs as baristas. There's maybe one or two a month where you can work in a roastery or a production, but actually there's more opportunity, I think, with being a barista. There's always thousands of vacancies where you can see different cafes being commercial, high street, in offices, specialty. There's always that sort of more opportunity there. So I started as a barista. I thought it was just a nice job, making coffee whilst at uni and getting free coffee when I was meant to be at lectures. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would just join in and say I agree in the sense that I think, jumping, get that experience behind the bar, it's always really good and it kind of pays dividends in the long run. But equally, I really like what Aashifa said about, understand that there is more to coffee than, becoming a barista. As in, if that is not right for you, don't give up because there's so many opportunities. And maybe you're really good at marketing. Maybe you're really, really good at people development. Maybe you're an excellent, disseminator of information and you've got a career in training ahead of you, whatever. But there's loads of different opportunities and roles. So if you can get your foot on the ladder and start as a barista, it's a great learning experience. But yeah, don't forget that it is a really broad industry and there's so many spaces in it. And there's definitely one for you. So join in.
Yeah, I think, it's quite interesting. I think as well, a number of people within the industry have started probably on more the commercial side of coffee and then moved into speciality. And sometimes there can be elements of almost snobbery between speciality and commercial coffee, but do we see the potential larger development paths of commodity or more commercial businesses being a good thing to be part of, or should we just focus on speciality?
I might pipe up with this one because I've worked a fair bit in commercials. So I started in just a regular cafe at uni, and then I went to work at Starbucks for a while, and then I went to London to work in finance, and then I worked in Fernandez and Wells. So at that time, 2008, kind of one of the best cafes in London, and it was really an interesting place and a really kind of cool place to be at the time. And then after about 6 months of living on minimum wage in London, I realised that it wasn't the best or the most comfortable way of living. And then I took a job working for Drury, which is like a family-owned roastery based in London, as their trainer. And from that point onwards, I never actually applied for roles. I used to email companies who I liked or who I wanted to work for and said, this is what I'm good at. This is, where I think I could add value, and do you have anything? And at the time, they responded and said, yeah, come on board, we're needing a trainer. So that was super commercial. They didn't really get into specialty. And then from there, I went to UCC, First Choice Coffee as it was known, United Coffee. And big companies give you structure. Big companies give you the opportunity to learn, I think, more things, equipment, servicing, marketing. They put me through my Q grader 2010, and they give you more chance to, I think, learn. So I always try and say to people, if they want to get into coffee, try and work for a big company. Do it for a few years, because if you don't like it, you can then maybe transition over to another sector. But I think they definitely give you a lot. But clearly, specialty is where most people want to work. It's where the passion tends to lie. So I think having a balance of both commercial and specialty coffees, I think, gives you a more rounded approach to the industry. So I think there's definitely a lot to be said for working for large companies.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the time spent with Nero and Eat and other larger chains made opening my own cafe a whole lot easier. Because there's one thing they're very good at is systems. There is literally a book for everything. You learn workflow, you learn to be efficient, you learn to do all these things. And then you can take that and just apply better quality to it from our perspective. But yeah, it's invaluable. So I would echo Lynsey in saying it's definitely a worthy way to start your career.
Yeah. And for you, Emma?
Sorry, I was waiting for Aashifa then, but I'll jump in.
Go for it.
I think that with regards to kind of gaining experience anywhere, wherever you are starting off, wherever your journey begins, it's really important that you don't kind of set your standard to. So what I'm trying to say here, if you're in a commercial site, you can still be the best barista in that site. If you're managing a bar and you're selling, cocktails of an evening and coffee during the day and waiting tables at lunchtime, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can still strive to kind of learn everything that you can in that space, in that vacancy, while you're in that position, and B, just be the best that you can absolutely be in that role. I think it's really important that people, know that you don't have to necessarily be working in the coolest place. I live in the wilds, literally the wilds, like rural Suffolk, and there is now, but it's still tiny in comparison to anywhere else. There never was really a coffee scene. And if I had let that stop me, I would never have, worked within the best industry that I could possibly want to work in. And I wouldn't be doing what I do now. So I think that, you've got to do what you can, grab what experience you can, jump in, volunteer, do anything you can, and then, just do the best you can. And then you will grow out of that and into the next thing. And you will be noticed as well.
I would also like to echo Emma's thoughts there. I think being the best that you can in the position that you're in. I also wanted to say that, I don't think we should yuck someone's yum. If commercial is what is right for you, then that's what's right for you. If specialty is what's right for you, then that's what's right for you. Just because specialty might be seen as something that's better doesn't necessarily mean that's what is right for you. And I think that is what you should take forward. Once again, an emphasis on what are your strengths and what is something that you want to work towards, because that is how you can make the best out of the position that you're in. And I think Lynsey really touched on an awesome point, is that the specialty coffee industry, from what I've seen, is a really, really passionate industry. We get behind lots of awesome ideas and lots of things. So if that's something that you're interested in, pursue that. But, do what is right for you, is what I would say.
I think particularly kind of what you're involved in as well, you're trying to get people who maybe don't have the exposure kind of started and get them, give them a career that they can work on and get them started maybe from underprivileged background or from various backgrounds. So, even more important, I guess, for you to be able to give them a vision of where that they can go.
Yeah, absolutely. So at Well Grounded, we work with adults all across London who come from diverse backgrounds. And I think my role as their trainer is not to go, I can't believe you drink instant coffee, because that is not that, that's just not supportive, because maybe that's the coffee that they know and that they understand. And my role is to, as we've just touched on, introduce specialty coffee to them and introduce this industry to them and show them all of the wonderful things that they can do. And then also acknowledge that there is the commercial side or a different side. And once again, identifying what is right for them, what is the right thing that they need to support them. So yeah, just to echo your thoughts, Rob.
Cool.
So we've got a question from Vicky, but just before we ask the panel that question, because it probably kind of links together, but what would you say are the easiest ways to get noticed? We've kind of heard Lynsey saying she emailed who she wanted to work with, but are there any other ways that we can kind of really kind of get noticed and progress ourselves?
I think it's important to define what do we mean by get noticed. Are we asking for someone to recognize us? Are we speaking up to people that have a position to grant us something? Or are we simply hoping to find avenues for progression which maybe we hadn't looked for someone to come and pluck us out of the wilderness and say, you are worthy, you can come and be the next person? For me, it's like, what are we looking for when we're saying get noticed? Are we looking for that, or are we just looking for somebody to give us a job? Because they're two different things.
I think, you need to make your own luck in life. I don't think someone's going to kind of like open the door and be like, welcome. I think the approach, it worked for me. I just kept going at it, just contact people that you like, who you admire, who you'd like to learn from. And I think sometimes just sending a little email, it doesn't need to be long, and just a case of, this is what I'd like to do, you're doing, or something similar, or even the exact job that I want, and how did you go about getting that? And if they came back with some tips, and then you can use those to then kind of find your path. And I think eventually you tend to get noticed. You want to sort of put a word if you volunteer, or if you compete, they're the easiest ones. I think everybody just wants to sort of find their place, and I think naturally you will, but you need to kind of go out there and do it yourself and kind of make the effort. So
yeah, can I just add to what Lynsey was saying there? I can't say strongly enough how important I feel it is to just get involved in any way you can. So if competitions are not for you, that's fine, right? They're not for me. Like, I'll happily judge you, or I'll happily train you, but I don't want to be on the stage. So that's fine, and that's not the only route in. But volunteer, become a member of, or an active member within SCA UK. Get to any events. I understand at the moment that is worst word to even say at the moment, but online events, liaise with people, engage with people on Instagram. I mean, some of the people that I have met that have just reached out through something like Instagram or LinkedIn have been amazing. And maybe I can't necessarily train them, or I can't find them a job, but just having that connection, I can put them in touch with somebody else that can help them. And I think that you just have to kind of you have to almost, force your entry, hi, I'm here. And by the way, I'm here to stay, and this is what I'm doing, and this is what I want to learn. And then when people kind of realize that, they're like, I know someone that's looking for this, or wants to do that, or I can connect you with someone over here. Because actually, generally, the industry is just full of really lovely people, and we're so lucky to have such a gorgeous network. And I think that now more than ever is absolutely the time to just utilize that and call upon it. So just jump in and say hello and get yourself known.
Stole the words right out of my mouth, Emma. That's exactly what I was going to say, especially attending events. I know that events don't exist as we knew them as, but we have virtual events like this one. People hold live streams on their Instagram, and for me, I guess getting noticed is in tandem with building your network and building your own network. And I think also acknowledge that maybe your network is not going to be the same as everyone else's. When I was a barista, I had a very different network to as an AST. and that's completely okay, and it will grow as you grow in the industry. But attending like virtual events, reaching out to people on social media, applying for maybe leadership committee roles within the SEA, volunteering, and you maybe don't have to volunteer with the SEA, but maybe you volunteer to set up events for your cafe or for your organization, which gets other people to notice you in a different way. So you're putting out energy, but it's different.
So the question from Vicky really was do you have a mentor who inspired, supported, encouraged you and to make a career in coffee? If so, who was it, and how important was that in terms of your development?
What a great question.
I'll go first because I can name mine quite quick. Because when I was at Drury 2009, round the corner from us was Monmouth. And at one of the UBF events, if anyone remembers those, I met one of the drivers, Steve Peel, who now has a roastery up in Northampton. I think it's Yellow Bourbon, he's called it. Anyway, I got talking to him and he said, come over to cup with us if you want, because Drury at that time didn't really do any sort of cupping per se as we know it now. And so I went round to Monmouth and I knocked on the window and I was like, hi, Steve's invited me over. And I met AJ Cannell, who is our head of coffee, and just was so inspired by what she did and just how cool she was, I think, as well. I had a little bit of a sort of crush on her, like, she's, in terms of her career, what she'd got to and where she'd travelled and everything else. And just, over those couple of years, she was just super helpful. I'd ask a question, she'd always have a good answer, good tips and tricks about how to kind of just learn more and be more sort of open to knowledge. So I would say that in terms of, aspiring to be like someone, I still aspire to be like her. And so, yeah, that was my kind of coffee hero.
I have so many that it's so hard to choose.
Yeah, you're bound to upset somebody because you've not mentioned the name. So
can I say two? Is that okay?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
There are so many things in life that I want to develop because I'm constantly learning and stuff. But I have two main mentors that I want to mention. The first is Eve Wag, who's also my boss and is the CEO and founder of Well Grounded. She's been my mentor for 4 years and is really inspirational when it comes to leadership and collaboration and creating content and creating impact. And then my second mentor is Anson, who works at Ozone. He is a trainer and has been for more years than I could mentally count very quickly. And I think I admire him greatly for his trainer style and how quickly he thinks on his feet. And has, echoing Lynsey's thoughts. When I have a question and I don't really know who to go to about training, I go to Anson. So those are my two.
I guess I don't have anyone who acts as really as a mentor for me, not that I can think of. I admired and look up to the person who introduced me to specialty coffee, and that's Peter James. I think without visiting Peter one day and experiencing a business ran in that way, somebody who genuinely just wanted to do whatever they wanted and just did it by their rules and didn't play the games that we often see, and B, somebody who just focused on quality and was very honest with it, was incredibly inspiring. So if there's somebody who I admire and inspired me, it's definitely Peter.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit, I would honestly have a list as long as my arm, so I just couldn't mention everyone, and I'm sorry for everyone I don't mention. But I think for me, I had somebody that always really inspired me, and that was John Thompson of Coffee Nexus. I am Legend. So different as a trainer to John. We are very different characters, we're very different people, but I have always just admired his knowledge is phenomenal and I could just sit and listen to him forever, and also I think just the fact that he's always had such a sort of great delivery and the ability to support me. So if ever I'm having that wobble about I can't do it or I don't know or is this content okay, because when you work on your own that's really hard. Like, who am I going to check it with? Nobody. Okay, let's hope it works because I've got no one to bounce off of. So that's really, really good to kind of have someone like John that, I can reach out to if I need to. And also Lara Hunter Rodwell. I swear I would not be half the trainer I am without that woman. I don't think she even necessarily realizes it, but I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be delivering online training if it wasn't for her. I went through lockdown with the whole, like, what am I going to do? I'm a freelancer. I've got no work overnight. I've had everything cancelled. I've got children to feed and bills to pay. And I remember being on the phone to Lara one day and, saying about how I didn't know what to do and I wouldn't be doing any training for the rest of the year. And she gave me a bit of a talking to and said, if anybody can do this and if anybody can turn it around, it's you. And I sort of thought, well, actually, maybe I should give it a go. And I think she's always just been like a real rock and given me a kick when I need it. But yeah, there's loads of people. Camilla Morgan as well, because she always gives me a boot when I'm being too soft. And we always need that, right? Need someone to give us a gentle dig. Tell us where to toughen up.
Can I? Sorry, no, go for it.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add something about not necessarily having a mentor, but also having peer-to-peer reviews. So I think even if you don't have a mentor, or you don't have someone that you greatly admire, which I think is, everyone admires someone, but you maybe have a peer who's trying to be on the same path as you. Don't underestimate the power of just having a review and like a collaborative session about problems or solutions that you're both running into, because I think those peer-to-peer reviews are also very, very powerful.
Yeah, I think I've always kind of gone down the lines of listen, talk, and engage. Those three things. But first listen. That's so important. Gabrielle Johnson said, I've close to a decade of experience in working in specialty cafes in barista management roles. My challenge is that it doesn't often feel like relevant experience that transfers to another role higher up in the food chain, so to speak. Working for a coffee importer. Probably relevant for Matt, this question.
And Lynsey, I would say as well. Definitely for the pair of us, we were both be involved in this part of the thing. In a directly applicable sense, no. But the skills you will learn in managing people, in managing finance, in managing data, are all applicable. If you can run a good spreadsheet, you can control the stock of a container coming in, because that's what it is. It is spreadsheets, and then everything else you learn, you can speak to people who, like, the world of international shipping is still something I'm discovering. But I know, thanks, Gabriel, I know enough now to understand how to get the coffee from one place to another. So if it feels like it's going to be too much of a step, then to me that's a prompt to just reach out to people, and ask them questions about what they could learn to get to that point. And I'm willing to answer those questions. That's fine, because then you can go and do the research. You can find out and be forewarned about whether this is the right role for you. You might not want to sit there and look at shipping spreadsheets and pricing and contracts and BLs and seaway bills and phytosanitary certificates. That might not be your bag.
I suppose also it depends on exactly what they want to do for the coffee importer. I think when I went from UCC to Falcon, I became a salesperson. And I'm sure Matt can obviously say that, as much as you work as an importer, you really actually are you sell. You're purely in sales. So it depends, if you're working as a manager in a cafe or a barista in a cafe, you actually get a lot of experience. You understand what people like. And I think half the battle is understanding if you're selling something, you need to sell something that you could sell because people are actually going to like it. So I would say to Gabriel that your experience is pretty relevant. You're on the front end. You get, people coming in, buying the coffee. You'll understand their tastes, their preferences, and then working as an importer or in an importing business. There's not many people there who actually have worked in cafes. A lot of them come from finance or have language skills, and that's how they get into it. And your experience will give you something different. So I think, it is relevant. You just have to find a way of making it relevant. So perhaps it could be in the cupping lab, finding coffees that you can sell to sort of roasters because you worked in cafes that, fits that kind of thing. So yeah, I think all experience is relevant. So yeah, don't give up.
Cool. And so another question from Vadzia. Do you think that there are some skills that could be useful in the next time or next period, I guess, due to the present COVID situation? We all know that so much of what we've taken for granted as the norm within the coffee industry has changed, and some of it's kind of shut down, hopefully only temporarily. But what skills can we take forward?
Maybe adaptability.
Yeah, 100% agree on that. Never. I said something right earlier when I was starting off in one of my early blog posts. Like I was like, you want to be secure enough in what you're doing, because you want to have a good idea, but be flexible enough to change. And being flexible enough to change and adapt has been so key. Emma, exactly what you've done. Aashifa with the difference in training for Well Grounded. It's been utterly crucial to be adaptable and to turn quickly. And if you can take that forward, you're always going to have a sustainable business.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, if I can just jump in and say, like, I think at the moment, to be brutally honest, like nobody could give you a definitive list. You need this, you need this, you need this, because who knows? Like we literally don't know at the moment. What I would say is that don't worry about necessarily what exact skill you're learning or you're turning your hand to or you're trying. Just keep trying. And I have discovered in more recent times that I've always enjoyed like design stuff, and but I couldn't do it. I could never do it. I couldn't touch it. Don't put me anywhere near Photoshop. Well, in the last 6 months, I've taught myself Premiere Pro, Illustrator, InDesign. I use the Adobe Creative Suite on a daily basis. I know, check me out. The Adobe Creative Suite on a daily basis. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still have somebody on, speed dial, literally, thank you, Brooke, to tell me where I'm going wrong and why I can't do things. But I have had to sit here and learn it. And that is a skill set that you would never imagine would be relevant in coffee or, anything that I would do on a daily basis. And actually, I'm using it all the time. So I think that, just broaden your horizons. If it's marketing, if it's digital platforms, if it's whatever it is, just keep adding to your skill set. You can never have too many skills, just keep trying and you can bring it all to the table and then sort through it. Is what I'd say on that anyway. And learn Adobe, it's loads of fun. Really complicated, but really fun.
Yeah, I think there's been so much learning for so many people during this period. And I guess, so Stacey's asked the question, have you ever been at crossroads and genuinely felt that you should leave coffee even though you love it? What did you do to figure out your path back into it?
Ooh. These are really great questions, can I just say?
Yeah. Mm. I think for me, since coming into coffee, I've never thought about leaving coffee. Mm. But have I thought about moving within coffee then? Absolutely, yes. Anybody else had similar experiences, actually thought about leaving coffee and going, forget it?
Yeah. And I would say, Stacey, like reaching out to you directly, I know your skill set, and it would be a huge loss. So I think firstly, let's just say that. Absolutely. I remember once I taught a class and it was horrendous. And I came out of there and I cried for about 45 minutes all the way home. And it was very early on in my training and I wasn't specialty enough and I panicked and I didn't have anyone to lean on and what am I doing? And, my skill set had always lied in teaching people and developing people. And, I'd been working a lot with people that were very disadvantaged or from disadvantaged backgrounds and had barriers to employment. And then suddenly I was in front of a group of super specialty folks and I wasn't the right fit. And it was awful. And honestly, I came away from there and I cried like for a long time. I think I got home and had a few, Swift gins and really felt sad for quite a while. And then I just realized that I wasn't going to let that bad experience or that you know, that one session kind of wear me down, and it did knock my confidence, and it did take me a long time, and I did think that I wasn't suited to what I was doing. But then I realized that like coffee was my passion, and you don't have to look a certain way, and you don't have to drink a specific coffee, and you don't have to mix with a certain group of people to be in that industry. And, you know, I think that if you are feeling there's going to be so many people feeling like that at the moment, right? They've lost their positions, or they're finding out that potentially they may be being made redundant, and, you know, they're not sure where to go next. And it's going to be a really treacherous few months. And I don't think anybody would pretend it isn't going to be. But I think if you have a passion for it and you have a skill set for it, then you just have to keep going with that. And even if you have a temporary move away from it, don't give up on it, and don't just, you know, throw the towel in and kind of think that's it for the whole industry. Just come away, give yourself a break, take some time to refresh. And what did you enjoy about it? What was the, you know, what kept you in it for so long, and then go after that again. But I think what you're saying is probably very true for a lot of people at the moment, I would imagine.
I mean, yeah, I left a couple of times, briefly, but mostly it's not about coffee. I never got into coffee in the first place for coffee. I got into it because I enjoyed working with people in the hospitality business. And that maybe is at the core of it. Is coffee in the industry is too large to say that you should leave it for one job, one business. And it's the business of coffee that you might not like, and of this particular kind of type of part of the coffee business. So there is other routes to explore. So maybe that's the path. The path is to take a branch, to go sideways, and to look at a different route through the industry as a whole, rather than saying, because of what I'm doing now and the dynamics of it, it sucks, therefore I'm out of coffee. And like Emma said, you might at some point. I went and did a month training to be a manager at ASK. Stayed within hospitality, but moved out of coffee into restaurants, and it sucked. And I immediately, after I finished my training, I'm like, no way, and took a job back in the coffee industry, but to do the same thing, because I realized I like this industry. I'm like, yeah.
Cool. Anybody else?
Like nights, I'm very
jump in just to finish. We've just got a couple of minutes left, I think.
Yeah.
No,
you go for it first.
Sure. I mean, I think I jumped between specialty and commercial. So when I was at a point where, I think it was 2010, I went to work so from Drury to UCC. I felt like I was sort of cheating on specialty, because at that time it was like specialty or nothing. And so moving into commercial, kind of the commercial world, felt like I was leaving coffee, because it wasn't really what I wanted to do, but I did it because it gave a salary and I had everything else, benefits as well. But that was my way of moving out. But then I came back in because ultimately it drew me back. But the skills and experiences that I had out with specialty coffee have helped me in specialty coffee. So similarly, if you went to go work as a teacher or in police or in the NHS, all those skills and experiences you'll learn there, you'll bring back. So there's always a way back. So I think, you know, it's become more rounded as an individual.
Aashifa, just to finish off.
Sorry?
You go, just to finish.
Awesome, thank you. So I actually have a background in education before I joined the coffee industry. I studied education at university, and then I did the well-grounded program. And what made me fall in love with coffee is what I'm still here for. So I was during the training program, and I love sharing this because I think we've all had this surreal experience when we've tasted a coffee and we're like, oh my God, this reminds me of this exact moment in my life that I can't quite picture, but it's here and I feel it. So that happened to me back in 2016. And I've been down this rabbit hole since then. And my big goal and ambition in life is to make, is to provide safe spaces for people through the route of education. And in addition to that, it's also this whole sensory thing, like this thing that I'm trying to make sense of and trying to pursue and trying to learn more of. So I don't think I have ever considered leaving the coffee industry, just to echo Matt's points about there is so much out there, and also echoing Emma's points that you can continue to learn. But I have doubted myself with sensory stuff and thought, I'm not as good as I thought, or I can't taste everything that everyone else can taste. But it's having that reflection moment that Emma talked about, and realizing, maybe you need to take a break and come back. But yeah, just to finish off, I've never actually considered leaving, but I've definitely had dips in confidence, which have made me doubt whether I'm actually good at what I do, which I think we all experience.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, and I think we could all probably go on for a long time on so many of these subjects. And thank you as well to our panel for joining us and sharing a little bit about their experience in terms of the coffee career. Also, thank you to the panel for answering some questions directly to people as well offline who've asked questions, because we just haven't enough time to fit everything in. I'd also like to thank, as well as the panel, so big virtual round of applause to Emma, Matt, Aashifa, and Lynsey. It's been awesome having you. And also thank you to the UK chapter. It's been kind of a weird and quiet time, so we just want to take this opportunity to just give a little update. Obviously, a lot of what we do at the UK chapter is around competition, which has kind of stopped. The 2021 season has been kind of written off, and all the 2020 champions are going to represent in 2021. Provided that takes place, and we're kind of all open, hoping it will. The only competition, two competitions that we haven't done, is UK Latte Art for 2020 and roasting. And as soon as is feasible, our plan is to run those, whether it has to be a socially distanced one or whatever it needs to be. That is the plan to finish the 2020 season, which would be great. And then we can hopefully have all those people representing the UK in 2021. And that would be fantastic. And then we got some new sponsors, we got new things going on that hopefully when we can get events or some kind of description, let's see what it is. But I'm sure you'll all agree that we just don't know at the moment. So thank you to all of our members for their patience and support as well. And these online events are vitally important, and we are going to look at doing some more that are UK specific as well. So for all of our members, that will grow and change that. Thank you again to the chapter coordinators. So Adita, Ashley on the judges, Adita on education, Ashley judges, Gratz on events, which is the one that's not really happening, Jonathan as our finance coordinator, and Alex, who has been brought on as communications, but he is also, like so many of you out there, trying to keep his business afloat because he runs a cafe as well, which has been so difficult for everyone. Thank you to all of those guys for putting in time and effort, and also Grumpy Mule and Union Ham Roasted for those wonderful coffees for the coffee break. And Bartosz, just to finish off, thank you for your time and being involved with the Barista Guild and bringing us, and I'll hand back to you to finish.
Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you, guys. It was really amazing. Hearing all of you. Very inspiring event, definitely. Yeah, this first series of online events, and I'm so happy that SCA helped us to organize it. Despite we cannot meet, but it is huge success that we can connect to so many, over 1,000 people right now in so many different countries in 3 different languages. So positive side of all this new normal is that there are other means, and we can just grow bigger and better and exchange information, inspire each other. So it was great. Again, thank you to our sponsored Bravista, Gourmet, Da Vinci Gourmet, and Liquor 43. and I hope to see you soon, online and offline, hopefully. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you again.
Bye.
Hopefully.
Guys.
I'm going bye.